Hello guys, how are you guys doing today? If you're new around here, my name's Ashley and I'm a soil scientist and also an avid water sports fan. So I love swimming and anything to do with water. And that is why in today's video, we are building a backyard swimming pool made out of a stock tank. So something that some of you out in the country may just have laying around, or some of you may want to invest in, because let me tell you, when it's like 40 degrees Celsius outside like it is right now, this is a lifesaver. So we're going to be going over exactly what we need to build this tank, the process of building the tank or the pool, and the maintenance for this tank altogether. So this is a start to finish, everything you need to know about building a pool in your backyard. So today's video, we have a very special guest. This is the Bob that I always talk about, my husband, who builds all my planters, does all the waterworks, the pond, all that stuff. And today he's officially building a DIY stock pool with me. So I ran the idea past him and he has the solution for us to do this. So say hi, Bob.
Hi.
He's camera shy, guys. Here he's installing a 3/4 inch hose barb into the nice little drain plug that is actually located on the stock tank itself. So as you can see, this was obviously already pre-installed. We took out the original plug and now we're putting this in. It has a nice little hose barb, and then we're attaching 3/4 inch hose to this because that is also what attaches to our pump for our filter. So we're also making a DIY pool pump. The entire world is sold out of pool pumps, so this is our method to madness here. And the clear hose is really nice because now we're going to be able to see if it's ever clogged up with anything. So this is going to be a surprisingly quick process so far. I'm absolutely blown away by how speedy Bob is. We have to drill holes in our bucket, which is going to be the place of our pump, our DIY pool pump. So we're in the Bob shop right now. So this is connected at the bottom on the hose barb, and now Bobby just put that hole drilled in there. He literally just stuck that hose through, and now he's going to put a washer to hold the hosey hose in place. This was connected down here. We obviously put a hose barb on this connection right there to hold it onto that barb, and then literally just walked it up back behind here, and now we've put it through here. And now we wait for Bob. Are you allowed to text on the job? Here we got a pond filter, and this was actually Bob's idea. I was looking for a pool filter and I was at my wit's end because the entire city is totally sold out. Amazon is sold out, and the ones that are left are like $300, which is ridiculous. So Bob suggested the pond pump because Bob is the absolute pro that actually set up this pond filter setup, which includes a Rubbermaid because he's that genius. So he's a farmer, he's a good MacGyver. So this is the one we have. It is 400 gallons per minute, which may be overkill, but in our experience with the pond and the fish tanks inside is that more filtration seems to always be the better option. Less filtration never ends as well, or never ends well for us. So we went for the excess mode, which is this big bad boy here. So where's that pump going? Inside of the actual, pardon? Inside the pail. Oh yeah, you don't want to take up real estate inside the pool. So this is another 3/4 inch piece of hose, and it is on the outlet, correct, Bob? Mm-hmm. So this is on the outlet of the pump. So this is where the water is going to flow out of. And now the length of your hose is going to completely depend on your setup. So basically where you have your stock tank in relation to your bucket and this setup behind here, and then also how far of a distance you need on the actual pump itself. So into the bucket it goes. Oh, love, I understand now. I'm getting what you're doing. cool. We're gonna have a little waterfall. And the choice for putting it under the gazebo was water evaporation. This year is very, very warm, so water evaporation is the key. And we got an adorable PB Mart bucket to boot, so which is awesome because they are the sponsors of this awesome setup. So as you can see, this is directly on the bottom of the container, and inside of this we are going to fill this with purely mechanical filtration, so sponges and things to catch debris. So this is going to fall in, or the debris is going to fall into this, and then we'll have like a false platform in here so it doesn't get caught up in the motor, where all the clean water will sit, also where our chlorination pucks will sit, and then that will get pumped into here. So with the pool, all you need is the mechanical filtration. You don't need biological or chemical filtration. That is only in fish tanks. Bob brought out the big guns. Oh, and another hole. I'm learning, guys. Bobby, what would you call that drill bit?
Stepper bit.
A stepper bit. There you go, guys. Stepper bit is the name for that. Are they expensive?
$120.
$120. Okay, so maybe you want a less pro bit. Bobby does lots of mechanical and things in the house. He's a one-stop shop for getting things done, so very mechanically inclined man. Which is probably a good thing because I'm constantly breaking things. So that's a relatively tight squeeze, like you're making it exactly 3/4 inches then. Yeah, so he's saying, because you probably can't hear him on the mic, so he's saying he's making this relatively tight in regards, almost basically undersized, the holes, because he wants to try to make them as tight as possible to reduce the potential of anything actually falling out, so which completely makes sense in this case. So there's our little intake down there, which is nice because if there's going to be accumulation of debris, it's going to be on this bottom end here. And that's his fancy little hose clamp tool. He uses that thing all the time.
It's called a nut driver.
A nut driver. You guys, I'm a scientist. I'm not a mechanic like this guy. That's what hubbies are for, am I right, ladies? This might end up taking a little while. So the reason for the pond pump as well is that it is fully submersible, meaning the electronic portion can be submerged and you don't have like any outside mechanics at all, and the pump can get fully wet. But as this is filling, I'm going to clean up the rest of this area from all the debris because we had stuff sitting here, so we got lots of leaves and seeds and all that stuff, and then also get all my plants moved over that I want to be in this region that are going to really enjoy the added moisture, and I will be right back. So Bobby did some pre-calibration for us, and it is 500-ish liters. I keep forgetting the exact amount, and they're saying that 300 grams of chlorine tablets should be added for every 10,000 liters, so not a lot. That equates to about 1/3 of that entire container. So we're going to start off with 4 of the chlorine tablets, see how it goes, and then we'll see if we have to shock the system or what ends up happening. And for this, we are going to add it to our makeshift pump so that it is able to flow more the chlorine around as it disintegrates in the bucket itself. Okay, we're at the moment of truth. We are about to plug the pond pump in to see if our DIY pond pump or our pool pump works. Fingers crossed. So we kind of forgot to account for something called gravity. We ended up having to lower our bucket to allow for the water flow in to match the water flow out, because it being so high, it wasn't quite coming in at the pace we needed it to match this larger size pump we have. So I'll show you what we ended up changing. So as you can see, we still have our input and our output. but we had to bring the bucket down to allow for the input flow, which is coming out at approximately the speed to match this. Now this obviously is pump fed and this is gravity fed, meaning it's just using the force of gravity. I'm gonna let this run for the night without any filtration inside of it. Just make sure everything is working fine and my water levels are matching each other. Nothing's going up too high, nothing's going down too quickly, and then I'll add that filtration in. So I'll show you what that looks like for you guys tomorrow. Okay, so this is what we're using for filtration in this. Like I said, it only has to be mechanical. Now you can see this is just a pillow, an old pillow sack that we've placed in the middle, and the filter is on the bottom end, so underneath the pillow sack. You can kind of see it in the black there, and then we cut a tiny little hole for the water coming out of the tank to go into, to be catched inside of this, and then it's going out into this. Now this little I guess output we're gonna drill a hole in the side here. Bobby ended up having to go to work, but we're gonna drill a hole in the side and stick that through, so it's actually more of a jet inside of the pool itself. But other than that, this little pillow sack here just has to be replaced and changed whenever it gets dirty, and that's probably going to be things like leaves, twigs, you know, pollen, hair, that sort of thing is mostly what's going to be captured inside of this. So that is done, and we can throw a top on that, and then I'm actually going to put a plant on top of that, so we really don't have to look at it and you won't even notice it's there. So there you guys have it. We are officially done. We are 24 hours after it was set up and everything is working beautifully. So that waterfall feature we actually plumbed it into the side, so now it's more of a jet tub type setup. And then I also grabbed a tarp for the top. Now let's go over kind of the things that you may run into that could be issues, ground prep, that sort of fun stuff. First off, this tub here is on a cement pad that we poured it completely level. Now this may not be the option for everybody, so if you're choosing just to put this on the ground, like on the lawn, ensure that it is packed down and you didn't just lay fresh soil down, so really nice pack it out, or use some sort of brick system. If it is unlevel, you will end up, especially if it is a larger volume, the higher the sides are, you will end up with more of a discrepancy front to back. And while this doesn't seem like a huge deal, it can actually cause the container to separate or break over time. Now with a stock tank such as this plastic one I have behind me, it's not as big of a deal because it's a molded plastic, meaning that there's no seams that could split. However, if you were using like a galvanized tub type setup, that does have seams in it, and therefore you can end up with a splitting that happens. Now I'm not saying it's going to happen in the first year. The first year everything's nice and fresh and new, so it's pretty unlikely unless it's a huge discrepancy in levels and heights. However, over time, as the tubs age, this may be something to take into consideration. The other thing is an unlevel platform can actually affect the overall filtration in the pool itself. But other than that, ground prep, that is all that you need. Now, when it comes to the filtration system, our filter that we made was a passive system or a non-pressurized system, meaning we are working on gravity and then we are using a pump to anti-gravity back into the tank and just to help with water flow. The key here is that you can have a canister filter, which you can purchase. And like I mentioned, I've looked all over the city, all over Amazon, very difficult to find. And I think it's probably due to a very warm summer. People are, you know, installing a lot of pools and stuff. So canister filters are pressurized, meaning they have a top and it is sucked down, and therefore it is a closed system. The passive system we are working with here, we are using mechanical filtration. So in this case, a pillowcase, and then a pump at the bottom. Now, if you are using a passive system such as what we have here, you don't have to use a pillowcase. You can use cotton batting. You can use a foam, a piece of foam from a couch or whatever. And then another method that we actually use in our pond is the scrubby dish soap cleaners, the plastic ones. We have an entire layer of that. The key here is that the material you use can't be sucked up by the pump, because we don't want to jam the pump and burn it out. So something to keep in mind. Now, what I did do out of pure curiosity, because I wasn't entirely sure about chlorination and how to deal with, you know, keeping algae and bacteria down, keeping it actually kind of nice to go into. So I went to a pool store here in the city and I just talked to one of the pool pros and I explained to them exactly what I'm doing here. I did mention the fact that I have a pool that is in a non-pressurized passive system. I showed him footage of what I was doing, and his recommendation was that yes, this is going to work fine, but those chlorination blocks that we put in the bottom of the pool, that is not ideal. You actually want to use a floaty bobber and then put your chlorine pucks in that, and then as the water circulates, it will actually circulate through the bobber, and you can adjust the bobber to how much chlorine you want to release. So for the first week he suggested full blast, and then over time we will back it off and put it down to 1 notch. The other thing he suggested was shock, so doing a shock treatment just off the bat to begin with, just to really sterilize everything, and then only apply shock as needed and when you are noticing a buildup of algae and bacteria. But other than that, the chlorine block will work just fine. He did mention that if we had a pool that was meant for adults only and you did have a cover on it, which I have back here, this was only $15. So if you have a cover and you have adults mostly using it, then you might not need as much mechanical filtration for a pool this size, meaning we only need water agitation and then the actual chlorine itself. So with this setup back here, you could actually technically, if it's for adults only and you don't expect a lot of debris to go into the pool, is use a fountain pump to move the water and circulate the water, circulate the chlorine, circulate the shock around, and that would be enough, so long as we don't have debris. If we are expecting lots of debris, we expect children to be using this, dogs, animals, we don't have a cover on it, then that is when you would actually use the canister filter or the passive system. So it's kind of up to you and what kind of maintenance you need to do on it. Now, if you choose to just go with water agitation, and I will insert a footage of what that pump looks like, then you will probably need to get a net to net off any hair or leaves or debris that does end up in the tub, despite the fact that there is a cover. Now, the price points of all these are going to be different. A canister filter is around the $50 to $100 range, depending on how much filtration you need. The setup I have with the PV Mart 5-gallon pail bucket and the fountain pump is around $80-ish. The pump was $60. The pillowcase was free. The 5-gallon pail bucket was $5. And then the actual hosing and hose barbs, the clamps, the actual glue to kind of seal everything off the sealant, that was around the $15 to $20 range. So just to put that into perspective. And then the third option, which would be a non-mechanical filtration, purely working in agitation and then just the chlorine, would be, it depends on the type of pump you get, but in this case I used a small water fountain pump. That is $20 to get that setup done. So put that into perspective for you guys. There's lots of different options, and it's all going to depend on how much activity you intend for this pool itself. Now, there are some limitations to using this plastic type stock tank, and the big one being that it cannot be transformed into a hot tub. And I know that sounds a little odd considering it's 40 degrees Celsius outside. Initially, when we were looking to set this up, we thought about how we could have it set up as a hot tub. So it involves copper lines and drilling some holes into the side, and then having like a propane fire pit area that would then heat the tub. With plastic in this case, obviously it is going to melt, so this is purely a summertime pool. Now, the stock tanks or the galvanized steel tanks can be transferred or transformed into an actual hot tub, which is very, very cool. But you do need that steel. You cannot use this plastic. It won't work out well for you. So there you guys have it, start to finish, how to deal with a wonderful stock tank pool, how to set it up, how to treat it, and any maintenance that you may need. And depending on what situation you're in, the price points will vary, so keep that in mind. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, be sure to check out Connected to the Land, which is where this video is posted, as well as all the other great information they have for anything outdoors. Bird watching, going to the lake, backyard fun adventures, gardening, beekeeping, you name it, it's over there. So be sure to check that out as well. Of course, go check out PB Mart's socials, because those are always awesome, and maybe these will go on sale and then you'll be even more motivated to grab one. And as always, be sure to let me know in the comment section what size pool you want to design and whether or not you think a stock pool would be beautiful in plus 40 degrees Celsius. With that being said, I got my bathing suit underneath this, so I'm gonna go take a dip, and feel free to be jealous until you get your stock tank set up. And then if you do get your stock tank set up, be sure to tag Connected to the Land and PB Mart in your post so they can show everyone your amazing designs. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.